And welcome, welcome. It is Sales Lab with Sarah, our Sales Lab series. I am Sarah Michael, and today I am here with Carrie Roldan. And I'm not 100% sure we're even live yet, but you guys, yes, I think we are live, so it's good that I'm prattering on. Hello, welcome. We are live, yay. I am just setting a couple things up over here. Wonderbar, thank you. So going to close that and welcome. Hi, Miss Carrie. Now I'm back to where I can see Miss Carrie. And yay, welcome. And I do have lots of, honestly, this webinar into Facebook Live convergence. I mean, and I went to grad school for technology and stuff. So this stuff usually doesn't faze me, but it's kind of got me hopping. I gotta say, like keeping everything together.
You're making me feel smart because I didn't go to grad school and I'm equally as challenged. So, I did go to grad school, but not for this.
Yay, welcome, fun. Okay, and we're set to public. Wonderful. Well, welcome you guys. As I said when I was prattering on, we got really on. I'm Sarah Michael, and today I am here with Carrie Roldan. And we are going to be talking about the money conversation. We might dip into the offer conversation a little as well. And before we get going, I did want Miss Carrie to do a little intro of herself. I've known Carrie, now for 4 years. She lives really close to me. So she's actually in Southern California, but we have gotten to know each other in similar circles and running around together, and it's just wonderful to have us still be in touch and still be so close. And I'm so excited to be here with you today. Tell us, what do you do out of your own mouth? Yes.
Well, that's a damn good question. What do I do? What shall I tell you today? Actually, right before Sarah and I went live, I was telling you, Sarah, I feel like I'm regressing, right? So the way I generally introduce myself is I say, I'm a wife, a mother, a runner, a best-selling author, a personal growth junkie, and your total business BFF, which I recognize doesn't actually tell anybody what I do. What I find that I've been doing more and more with the people that I serve is helping them through whatever means necessary raise their vibration and maybe the vibration of their business or the relationship they have with their business, right? Raise that vibration to the level they want it so they can attract what it is that they want. So raise their vibration so that it's coinciding with the thing it is that they want to attract. But I recognize that's a really shitty way to tell people what I do. So, so that's why I'm having this conversation with you. Sorry, I said shitty.
Well, I'll give you, messaging is also my jam, y'all. It's not just conversations. Well, the words of the messaging inform the conversations expertise of me. And I'll give you a quick little, raising vibration is a feature, not a benefit. It's how you get the result. So what's the result? You already said it. They have better businesses in some way, shape, or form, or they're at least happier.
Yeah. So one of the things I was saying, and maybe I'll go back to this after you said it, is although I don't think this is what people want, but is they get, when somebody works with me, they get what it is they want or something better. Like almost always, people are getting something even better than what they thought they were working with me for. But again, nobody's looking for their or something better, are they? So let's just go with, I help you freaking love your business and be super excited and like have fun and enjoy being in your business again. Like have your business feel like it's flowing instead of you trudging through mud.
There we go. That's much more tangible. Well done. Because now I have something to say, and that's an indication that, okay, yes, at times these businesses, as wonderful as they are and as often as they are, there's sometimes in my business, the only thing I can really conjure to be grateful for is that I get so much flexibility and freedom with my schedule. Doesn't mean I'm not busy, doesn't mean I'm not, but it means that it's flexy and I get to say when it happens. And so there can be times where it does feel like a trudge and it's like, oh. And so to fall in love with your business again and have fun and get back in alignment, that's awesome. And it's really, really needed. Welcome, welcome to those who are joining. I see a couple people. I know it's weird because I got this to see that. It's all anyway. So y'all, the money conversation, and just so you guys know, this is one of 7 essential conversations that I teach, and it's the money conversation. The other 7, yes, the sales conversation is in there, and we may even kind of dip into at least talking about the sales conversation today. The connection conversation, which we're going to reference today because Carrie is often on like connection conversations, which means it's not the initial meeting, the initial conversation. They've already known each other, but this is a connection call either right after the meeting or months down the road, a reconnection call. So, and these conversations I've really found to be, for myself and my clients, the key to turning all of these relationships into clients when it's appropriate, when they're like screaming everything they're saying we can help with. Well, how the heck do we make that turn? So, you know, that's another one of the essential conversations, turning the friendly conversation into the sales conversation. This money conversation today is actually after the sales conversation and after the offer conversation. This is the conversation you're having with someone after you've made an offer, after you have stated your price, and after you have then closed your mouth, because after you state your price, you should zip it and let them sort themselves in or out. But don't get in the way of that processing. Let that be. And then, so the money conversation. We're talking about payment plans. We're talking about, okay, here's my credit card. We're talking about I don't have it or I'm not sure too. But it's all of that because it's, you need to be solid and leave your money conversation baggage at the door, even if you're collecting a credit card, even if it's a yes, like your stuff still needs to be checked, because then you're just clear for them, because they're going to show up with their money stuff. So the less you have of yours going on too, the better. Now, Ms. Carrie, tell me this. Give us a little encapsulation. We talked about it before, but encapsulate for me kind of what you've been bumping into where this money conversation is really your kind of crunch point right now.
Well, with me, I feel like the conversations leading up always go well. I generally get people actually like, I'm sort of oblivious that I'm in a sales conversation until somebody's like, so what does it look like to work with you, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. So that part all goes fairly smoothly for me. I'll get them into a strategy session, like you're saying. I think you call it something different, but all of that runs really smoothly for me. Where I get stuck is when they're a yes and they don't pay in full right up front. Like lots of times I'll say my price and they'll say, great. Sign me up right now, send me the link, or, you know, here, take my credit card number. Like that part goes really smoothly for me. But I seem to have almost nobody who, when somebody says, okay, let me just put the money together, or hang on, I need it. But like I never have people signing up with payment plans, which I've been okay with, because I was thinking like, okay, well, great. I only attract people who pay in full. But then I started to think that my own money stuff may be getting in the way, or just because there are people who I know I can help who need a payment plan. And I'm like, I don't know. It's not that I'm not willing to offer one. I just seem to never get people signing up with a payment plan. And so I know, like, I can think of a few people in my head right now who I want to work with them. They want to work with me, but they're still trying to sort out the money. And I'm not having the conversation with them at all.
About getting the money, it also sounds like.
Yeah, I'm afraid of manipulating them out of money, or having them like you and I have talked about this before, but for the benefit of everybody who's watching, like I know I've been burned in the past, and lots of the people who I'm talking to have been burned in the past by people in my industry who charge a lot of money and don't deliver, or who take people's money when they had no business investing in what that other person is offering. So like they're taking somebody's money for a program that they're 3 or 4 years away from being ready for. So I don't want to be that person. So instead I'm just like, all right, well, good luck getting your money together. Like,
right. Okay. So yes. And it is, it is true that we do run into a lot of folks who've spent a lot of money. I mean, definitely, I talk to people all the time that have spent $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on training and business building and stuff with very, very, very little ROI. It kills me because I've invested a lot too, and I've got an ROI. So yay, and I just that we should be getting a return on investment. It's one of the reasons I get pretty bullish, so to speak, about my clients getting a return on investment, because yes, you should be getting a return of investment. And there are all these people, and they are, potentially listening from that space of having had those experiences before. I get where you're at. And I've had times in the past where, I'm pretty like, okay, cool, thanks, bye, and you just sort of flit away. And it does sound like you're being able to have a powerful conversation with them around creating the money, not manipulating them into a sale per se, would be helpful. How do you leave it with them when they're gonna? Is it literally just good luck getting the money?
I don't leave it, right? Because I'm great with relationships. So I'm trying to think like
what I mean by leave it is, how do you end that conversation? Like, what's the next step, or what's the next communication point? Are you guys talking about that?
No, that's the thing. I don't want to talk. I give them my price. They know it. They want to work with me. They generally, we're generally in conversation anyway.
Right.
So, but I almost always leave it entirely up to them in terms of bringing it up again. Or I never, like, once I've set my price, I feel like, all right, they know what it is. But then I also am harboring this fear that, like, if I'm not following up with them, or that they're going to invest that amount with somebody else who's not going to help them the way I could. So yeah, I'm stuck.
Well, and that can very much happen. I know personally, I have gotten 4 or 5 people really, really ready to buy the wrong thing. Right? Especially some locals, like, that I see, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's what you ended up doing. Funny that. Yeah. And okay, so let's actually go to, because you mentioned it before, you've been burned yourself. So what limiting belief have you created about selling and being sold to related to your own experiences?
My own experiences. Okay, so my limiting belief around it is, oh gosh, there's probably too many to count, but the one that's coming up right now, right, is if it's not a hell yes, here's my credit card, then it's a no, right? Like, I love that idea. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no when I'm making the decision. But when I'm on the other side, when I'm the person who's like, somebody's floundering, or it is a hell yes for them, but they just have to figure out the money, I'm still like, well, they didn't give me their credit card the minute I offered it to them, so it's a no. So definitely there's that. But then beyond that, I think for me, it is, I have a limiting belief as the coach, because I feel like the person who's investing, or I guess this may be actually more about the offer conversation, but it has to do with money. The person who's investing is expecting a result. So I tend to put it on myself to deliver that result, when in actuality, they're the one that I'm just helping them deliver it for themselves. Like I'm helping them get to the bottom of things. I'm helping them I'm helping them do all the things that I do. But they're the one who's actually going to be taking the action. I'm just helping them get out of their own way so that they can take the action. So I do have a limiting belief, especially the higher my price point goes, the more I feel like, well, crap, now I really, really, really have to deliver. So I get attached to, it's funny, I'm not attached at all to them signing up with me, but once they do, I'm very attached to their result. And the more they pay, the more attached I am.
Well, of course. Yeah. And I think a lot of us heart-centered entrepreneurs, we are like, we really do get attached. It does sound like, so let's take them through, because I know this, but let's take them through like the entire sequence. So Carrie is great at relationship building, as am I. It's one of the reasons we've stayed in touch. And what she finds herself, and correct me if I get any of this incorrect, she finds herself on what I would call connection calls with regularity, where at some point these people are saying, what is it like to work with you? They're asking to work with you. So, you know, firstly, yay, brava, that like, great job. Like that is what we want as much as possible. And we can't completely toss out all of the strategic elements that can help us create those sales when they're less like, when they're more proactive and less receptive, because you're in that receptive, like, sure, I'm happy to receive you mode. Oh, there's a puppy on the couch. Sorry, that just distracted me. I saw the movement. I was like, what moved? So we still got to go through, and that's where, first of all, when they say that, I would suggest saying something kind of like the verbiage I use with turning a friendly conversation into a sales conversation, but they've already asked, so you don't have to do the first part, but say something like, oh my goodness, that's wonderful. I would love to work with you. Do you have some time now, or should we schedule some time later to talk specifically about what you want and make sure that what I've got is going to get you there? And part of the reason I think this is going to help is what I'm noticing in the little data points you've been giving me is the power dynamic is a little off by the time you end up in the client relationship together. And it's partly a power dynamic that gets established during the sales process. It's why I say sales is leadership, because we start leading them then. And marketing is leadership too, but definitely if you're talking, so yeah. So, and you don't have to do the whole, spread out, like forever. You don't have to take, but at least 3 or 4, what do you need questions, and exploring it. Like I call it sniffing around, because like you're kind of finding the edges and like, what else over here? What else over there? And just get it down. And then, a little bit about what they want, the 2 parts of the sales conversation, the pain and the possibility, what they need and what they want. And then use that to go into an offer with specificity, because you also mentioned not knowing or not feeling confident about what you offered. And actually, and I told you it needed to be customized, and you were like, no one's ever told me your offer needs to be customized. And yes, people. So I'm going to use this moment for a little BSA. When you are making an offer verbally, even if you are offering a group program, not one-on-one services, which is what Carrie and I are talking about, you make a customized offer. You said, I hear you saying this. We're going to get you that. And you also said this, so we're going to get you that. And you also said this, so we're going to get you that too. It's a little more complex, but essentially you're just going through what they said. Even if it's a group program, even if with one-on-one, they're going to get all this other stuff. If they didn't say it, it didn't happen. Last week with Debbie in the offer conversation, she really, she wants to give them all of it, and tell them about it at the beginning. No. Because what people hear when we give them, when we make an offer with either something that's our own kind of agenda, or we know they need it, or it's an abstraction. That's actually a mistake I made for a long time, is I would encapsulate what you said you wanted in my words. It's got to be in their words. And if that happens, people will basically read it on a very subtle, maybe not even conscious level as, no, maybe she doesn't really get what I need. Maybe she doesn't really know how to help me. It's this subtle ambivalence that does not turn into sales. So I think that's why leading that, just getting into that part of the conversation with them, is going to really help you with the money conversation. Because, yeah, so how's that all digesting over there, my dear?
Well, so I just want to say publicly, holy shit, holy crap, sorry. I've been cussing like crazy lately. Even my husband's like, why are you cussing so much? I don't know. Anyways, holy crap, Sarah. Thank you. One, for just validating. Maybe this is just a more heart-centered way to do it. And maybe everything that I've been learning. I told you at the beginning of our conversation, I feel like I've been regressing because I'm going backwards. I'm going back to before I learned anything about anything. But that's sort of what you're telling me is hey, just do what you were already doing. It was working and it felt good. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yay. So thank you for that. And yes, I wouldn't know another way to feel authentic and aligned and make an offer than to listen and hear what and then saying, great, this is what we're going to do to help you with that. Awesome. So just thank you for validating that, because I've been walking around feeling like a little bit of a fraud or not a true professional, because I just sort of listen to people, hear what they want, and then offer something based on that. So thank you. But now once I'm there and I say, awesome, that costs $100,000. Or your investment is $100,000, which it's not, but let's just go there. Then what? That's where I'm really stuck.
Okay,
is the follow-up on the money.
This is what I want to offer you, is you get to put your coach's hat on, actually. Even though they haven't paid you, if there's two scenarios there. One is, or two talk tracks as I call them. One is they're a hell yes, but they don't have the money readily available and they're going to need to figure it out or budget it or create it. Or they're that ambivalent, I don't know, I'm not sure, maybe-ish state. So in either of those spaces, or maybe even I can't afford it, in either of those spaces, it is time to ask more questions. So let's just go with the ambivalent person, not the need the money or need to create the money, but a hell yes, right this second. We'll go back to that. With that person, this is what prompted me to add the money conversation to the 7 essential conversations. It started out as 5, because someone I was chatting with was like, well, but once they tell me that, no or whatever, shouldn't I just drop it? I'm like, well, I mean, if they felt like a fit, talked like a fit, seemed like a fit, listen to your offer and, or at least the beginning of the offer when you usually check in about, hey, I heard you say these 3 things before, if those are the 3 things I need, validated the listening, then it is, then it's time to talk, it's time to say, so what about that, isn't in alignment, or what do you need to think about? What isn't clear to you would be another question I would ask. Because it is our job to help them. They came to us wanting some help and wanting to see what it would look like for us to do the helping. And so part of the helping is helping them work through their own money fears. So, sniffing around at that, what is unclear? Or is it really just the money doesn't feel right? Or, you're not aligned with spending the money or whatever. And you can say that. You can ask questions and just ask them. And you know what, for the longest time, I don't do this anymore, but for the longest time, after I got really square on the money conversation, it was really early. I would say, you know, honestly, one thing I've learned is we got to talk about money frankly. We got to be really plain about it, without judgment, without yuck, you know, any of that. And so, can I ask you some more questions, or can I ask you some questions about what's going on? You know, what you need to create, or whatever, or what else, you know, you're doing that we could talk about. Because and then that would be where you'd stop and say, especially with the person that's ambivalent, is like, now I'm not sure you really want it, but if you really wanted it, I would be happy to talk you through some of the logistics of creating the money or making the money or whatnot. And I'm also not here to convince you to work with me. So that's where I need you to be like, yes, I really want this. It's just a matter of us working through this and you giving me some time, maybe. So I see on your face you're digesting everything. What's in that?
Yeah, that's one of the things about me. You can see it on my face. Okay, so what's coming up for me when you're saying this is I'm experiencing a time when I spoke with someone who was great. She was amazing. Like, I thought that I might want to work with her. And then we got to the money conversation and I felt bullied. And I still, every time I see her, like I see her online, I get mad. And it's too bad because she probably offers something amazing. I actually don't really remember what it was, but I remember that I felt like I was being walked through a money script. Like, and I think this has happened so many times to me, right? Even in our industry, there's how to deal with objections and what to say when they say that they have to talk to their husband, and what to say when they say, like, and I definitely felt like that felt manipulative to me. Like, I felt like I was being walked through that. And to the point where I'm feeling resistance is when you're talking about me helping them come up with the money or helping them figure out a way to get to the money. I think I hear what you're saying, which is just coach them through a decision. Like, I can do that.
Essentially.
I haven't, because I've been like, well, your decision to make, I'm out. I don't want you to think that I'm manipulating you. But I have felt, I don't ever want anybody to feel like the way that I felt, and I felt this several times, when it's like, it gets to the point where they're showing you, all you have to do is this. Well, if you just got one client, it would be worth it. And all my red flags are going off. And I'm now feeling, this is as the client, as the person on the other side of the call. I'm feeling like they're saying, they aren't necessarily saying these words, but I feel like they're saying, well, you're stupid if you don't invest it, or you're not going to succeed if you don't invest it. And it really turns me off. So I don't want to be that person. That's why I've avoided this conversation. So can you help me just feel into the subtle differences of what you're talking about?
Yes. Well, for instance, nothing came out of my mouth about, you know, the investment and if you just get one client. I didn't say anything like that. This is about really just asking questions. Where are you at? You know, what else is going on? You know, it could be that they're strung out on bills as it is, and this is not a good idea, but let's talk about it. You know, like you know what I mean? Like, so this is not about, you know, and you can even say that. I mean, that's where, you know, you were in my project, you tell on yourself. Like, everything that feels woodgy. Like, now I don't want to, you know, get all up in your business. And like, as your coach to be, and right now in this space I'm coaching you, you know, I want to know, like, tell me about your finances. Like, is this even logical? Is this even something you should be considering? Because I don't want you to get into something that's not, you know, I might want to stretch you, but I definitely don't want to get you in over your head. So tell me, like, what is going on with your finances? Like, how feasible is it that you could create the money? And just be really, and it's just really matter of fact, but it's not about like those manipulative phrases like, well, if your son got sick, you'd find the money, or, and then the lesser version of like, if you needed 4 new tires on your car, you'd find the money. Like, that's not quite as gut wrenching as the kid got kidnapped, but, it's still pretty manipulative. And it's not about going through some script. It's really intuitive. And it's like, well, what's going on? Talk to me.
Yeah, I like this so much better because this, I think just having this conversation with you, Sarah, has freed me up to recognize, like, I can do the money conversation. It's super easy, actually, because what I found, right, is that when it's a priority, when it's really a priority, you find the money or the money shows up, right? Like that always happens when it's really a priority. And sometimes we're exploring things. We want to make something a priority that isn't yet, right? But like when it really becomes a priority, that's when the client is ripe. I have someone who I work with who talks about shaking the tree. Like she looks at her email list as her tree, and she just every once in a while goes out and shakes the tree. And when the fruit is ripe, it falls, and that's her client. And I'm really feeling that analogy as you're talking, like, duh, right? When they're ripe, the money conversation isn't hard. And if they're not ripe, the money conversation doesn't need to be hard for me because they're not ripe. And I think that's several of those times. Once or twice I've invested in things before I was ripe because I felt pressure, only to then resent the person whose program it was, think that they're a fraud, think that when in actuality, like I just probably wasn't ripe, and they had some sales tactics that worked, but didn't really work because I'm not singing that person's praises. I'm not telling people to sign up for their program. I'm saying I spent a lot of money on that and it doesn't work. So anyways, I just really appreciate you giving me the freedom to be detached on the money conversation as well. And like just lovingly, because I've had those conversations, like now that we're talking, I'm like, oh, I've done that actually. Like, hey, I'm not attached to whether or not you sign up. But yeah, thank you. You're like, I can't even tell you the weight that has been lifted just by recognizing the money conversation isn't any different than any other conversation.
It's not. You get to lead as the coach and help them see things. And, and there is this scenario where they do need you and they are ripe and they are in fear and they are afraid of spending the money. They have been manipulated. So, I mean, that's where, holding a lot of space and talking through, well, tell me more about those other programs. And then that's about, this is very much overcoming objections, but illustrating. So here's why such and such didn't work out for you. How we're going to do it is X, Y, and Z. So like, it's different. You can call out the differences between, and, a lot of time it might just be that simple as like, that was a huge group program. And I'm gonna help you figure it out, make it your own until you get it. We're gonna stick with that part. We're not gonna move on until you're ready. That can be half of it or more. So you can tie those connections together and help them see. And I have held, and it can take 20 minutes, and they say yes, and they pay in full. They say yes, and they pay on a payment plan, like it is a yes. And that is where just opening it up, no attachment, but so tell me what's going on over there. Sometimes I just ask that. Tell me what's going on in that wonderful brain over there. Yeah.
Yeah, I so appreciate this because, and you're actually helping me. The other money conversation that sometimes comes up is the re-registering, right? So I've taken people through their contract and now it's time for more or not more, right? It's time to decide. And they're in a place of having gotten incredible results and I want them to continue to get these incredible results. And I've seen enough to know, or at least I'm intuitive enough to know when they're really ready to go out and fly on their own and when they actually need a little bit more. And what I'm finding is because I'm like, all right, well, just let me know what you want to do, that I'm losing some people who maybe need a little bit more because I'm not having that conversation in depth with them. And because I don't want to threaten. I don't want to be like, well, why don't you take a month off? And like, I don't want them to be dependent on me either. But I also, I don't want to threaten that, like, I don't know how to, do you know what I'm trying to say? Threaten like, well, if you don't have me, you're going to suck. That's
that wouldn't do at all. You would never do
right.
that. That can be as simple as, honestly, I usually do it like the time before the last time, because I never want to have that conversation on the last time. I want to be able to, if it is the last time, I want to be able to like tie everything up. And something as simple as saying, listen, the session after next is, our next session is our final session. And it occurs to me, you list, you just said last week you want to do this, you mentioned this, like we do still have some more work to do. Would you like to talk about renewing and, continuing to do some work together?
You just made that so easy. Would you like to talk about it? Would you like to have that conversation? That's really easy. And just something that I've just been like letting it hang out there. And then I think it's awkward for everyone.
Well, and that's where sales is service, and they still need us. And, and they're not keeping track of it. That's our job. So we got to be the one, and that's where leadership, and sometimes we leaders have to, have the hard conversations and bring up and be the ones who start those hard conversations. Woo, yeah, to boot. So awesome. So how are you feeling?
Oh, better than I expected. Like so relieved. It's funny to me now after having this conversation. I feel like, what was I so hung up on? Like, what was I so worried about?
Well, you're super precocious and you get stuff so fast.
Well, and I think it is a big, here's what I love about what you're doing, Sarah, is you're helping people feel their way into the right process for them. And I think why I have been so resistant to any kind of sales formula or sales process or to the point of like absurdity, actually. To the point where I'm probably like, there's people out there like dying to work with me and they cannot get in, is because I didn't ever want to feel fake, dishonest, out of integrity, anything. And especially the money conversation, the idea of sales has felt that way for me. So just thank you for lifting that weight, like shifting my perspective on that and making it really, I've heard sales as service 1,000 times, but honestly, it felt like a gimmick but having this conversation with you makes it feel like, no, for real, Carrie, just be yourself and coach them to the decision. If you don't care whether or not they sign up with you, you still don't care when you're having the money conversation. I mean, I do care. I'm not attached. So I still am not attached when we're having the money conversation. And that's new. I've always been super attached to the, around money. So I like it. Thank you.
Yay. I'm so glad to hear that. And yes, I mean, this process, the 7 essential conversations, it is about really getting comfortable with sales and comfortable with your own way, and yet it's still effective. We're not just a limp noodle. We're not just like laying down and going away, and we're still there to serve. We're still there to help. It's intentional. It's curious. It's exploratory, and but it's not like just complete hands off. And I get it. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so I had this thought earlier today. So maybe this is for this conversation is, I think a lot of your people are probably like me in that we're a little bit resistant to blueprints and formulas and all of that. And I'm a super talented writer. And I was always good in school at getting A's on essays without even trying. And then one day I became an English teacher and I had to teach how to write a great essay. The only problem was I didn't really know. It just I did have a structure, but it just sort of came out of me. But when I started to have to teach the 5-paragraph essay, the formula that I was given to teach felt, I was like so angry at that formula. Like I felt like, how could we teach people to write this way? But eventually I recognized, oh, actually we need a little bit of framework. People who it doesn't come intuitively to, like we need a little framework to help us feel comfortable. We need that structure for us to find the freedom in. And what you have done is given me a structure that I can still write my own essay in. Instead of a template, like, do you know what I mean? Instead of a template that's like,
I go for. I mean, this is where structures support flow, but we do need a little bit of something or we go off the rails.
yeah. So you've given me the structure without a freaking template. I don't want a template. I just want kind of a little bit of structure to hang myself on. Yeah. And I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. This has been wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I knew Carrie would be a fantastic guest. So hi guys, what's next? What's next is we are going to continue doing sales labs. I am gathering folks to come join us for next month. I am going to be here on Friday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. What's it called? Eastern, to do question and answers. And it's actually going to be with like the Zoom link, and you're going to be able to be live, and I'm going to be able to hear you and all of that good stuff. I find the Facebook Live typing, there's a delay, it doesn't really work. Awesome, so that's on Friday. And yeah, so, and if you want to check out the Conversations That Make Money course, you can go to conversationsthatmakemoney.com. And I do know, as I keep saying, because it's the best time of the year, y'all, everybody's starting courses soon, they're launching, you have big plans and goals for the fourth quarter of 2017. And even if you're doing online work, even if you're doing JV work, you need to know how to have these 7 essential conversations, y'all. The universe is sending you clients at the grocery store, at the play park, and at the party. So you have to be able to navigate when it's not cut and dry. And that's what the 7 essential conversations are all about. So check that out, conversationsthatmakemoney.com. And thank you again, Miss Carrie. This has been so much fun. And as you saw, I will say, as you saw, this is not about some sort of super strict structure or script. And yet, I don't want you to freak out about tossing out your script. We'll create your own script. So it's not that you won't have any structure. You'll have your structure. And I think that's really what we thought, which is awesome. Thank you, Carrie, for bringing out. It is all about you finding your way within these little strategic touch points so we can actually help people. Yeah, that's what it's all about. So thank you, my dear, very much.
Thank you. This is awesome.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'll see you soon. I'm going to turn us off Facebook and we can